Local 4 News starts now with a breaking news alert.
First of all, we're following several breaking stories here at home and across the country. We are going to start in New York, where Congressman George Santos went before a federal judge accused of fraud and lying to Congress. The freshman Republican just addressed reporters after his arrest. Kimberly Gill joins us now to walk us through the charges and also reaction on Capitol Hill.
Hi, Karen. Good afternoon to you. Santos pleaded not guilty to the 13 counts against him. He was released on a $500,000 bond following his arraignment at a Long Island federal courthouse. Within the last 45 minutes, Santos had this to say outside of court.
I've been complying throughout this entire process. I have no desire not to comply at this point. They've been gracious in there. Now I'm going to have to go and fight to defend myself. The reality is it's a witch hunt.
Santos is accused of taking part in 3 schemes in this indictment. Prosecutors claim he used campaign funds on personal expenses, including designer clothing. He's also accused of applying for COVID-related unemployment benefits despite being employed by a Florida-based investment firm. In the 3rd scheme, Santos is accused of misleading the House of Representatives about his financial situation during his congressional campaigns. Santos first made headlines after he was elected to Congress. The New York Times exposed much of his resume was manufactured. Today, members of his own party appear divided on what should happen next.
He should have resigned a long time ago. He's an embarrassment to our party. He's an embarrassment to the United States Congress. Apparently the wheels of justice, they do grind slow, but they grind fine as well.
Like every American, you have your day in court and go through it, just like when another member inside the House. Santos would never put on committee, so he won't serve on committee. He'll go through his time of trial, and we'll find out how the outcome is.
Santos' next court appearance is at the end of June. If convicted, he faces up to 20 years in prison for those top counts.
Right. So what is he saying about these calls for him to resign?
Well, he's saying in that news conference that he will not be resigning and he is still running for re-election. So we'll have much more on this story when you join us for Local 4 News at 5 o'clock.
All right, we'll see you at 5.
Sure.
Well, we do have some breaking news out of Detroit, where an autopsy reveals new information into how a local neurosurgeon was killed. The Detroit News reports Dr. Devin Hoover was shot twice in the back of the head. The autopsy says he was covered in a comforter, then dragged face down into a crawl space. The doctor was found dead in his home in the Boston Edison Historic District last month. Police have a person of interest in the case, but no one is in custody currently. Also breaking right now, Rick Wershey, a famous FBI informant turned drug dealer in Michigan, was arrested again, this time in Florida. Police officers say Wershey attacked his girlfriend after he allegedly called her the wrong name during sex. She claims when she tried to get away from him, he attacked her. Wershey is out on bond right now, but is facing several charges, including battery. Disturbing new details released in court as the man accused of shooting 3 people inside a gas station goes before a judge. Investigators say the victims were all locked inside the station. Samuel McRae is accused of murdering 1 man and shooting 2 other people at the Mobile on West McNichols near the Lodge over the weekend. Prosecutors say he tried to pay his $4 bill with a card that was declined. Prosecutors say the clerk locked the door so he didn't leave, and that's when McRae threatened to shoot the other customers if he was not allowed out.
The clerk continues to argue, apparently antagonizing the defendant. Therein, the clerk electronically locks the door from behind the counter. As based by the clerk, he thought that the defendant was going to leave with the items that he brought to the cash register. The defendant then becomes increasingly angry. The clerk refuses to unlock the door.
Prosecutors say that's when McRae opened fire, shooting 3 people. The judge ordered him held with no bond. Eastern Michigan University is honoring the former student killed in the mass shooting at a Texas mall over the weekend.
It was definitely not a good news to hear about, definitely very saddening, and we just thought it was our responsibility to honor her life, and just her as a student at Eastern, so that was our very first thoughts.
Aishwarya Tadikanda graduated with a master's degree in construction management back in 2020 and was working as a project engineer at a Texas construction firm. She was one of the 8 people killed in the shooting at an outlet mall near Dallas. The shooter had 8 weapons with him and had tattoos with white supremacist and neo-Nazi symbols. He was shot and killed by police. Investigators are still trying to determine the motive. Do have some big health news to share with you today. Federal health advisors are recommending birth control pills be sold over the counter. A panel of FDA advisors voted unanimously in favor of a drug maker's request to sell its medication without a prescription. This paves the way for a likely approval by the full FDA. During a two-day meeting, the panel looked into whether women could safely and effectively take the pill without a doctor. A final decision is expected this summer. Oh, it's a good night to get outside, maybe grill, take the dog for a walk. Forewarned meteorologist Kim Adams is here with our first look at your forecast. It's gorgeous.
Isn't it nice? Definitely time to get the propane and get those grills fired up just in time for Mother's Day weekend. Tonight, it's nice and clear, sunshine all around, 73 at Metro. Mid to upper 70s, though, in a few spots, including Pontiac at 76, also in Howell and Ann Arbor, 77 in Lapeer, and then lagging behind just a little bit, Mount Clemens at 71. Widen the view, and there's more heat where that came from. Take a look down to our southwest. It's 82 in St. Louis and Kansas City, 81 in Des Moines, and we'll get close to that tomorrow with our high reaching 80 degrees as well. But tonight, temperatures really don't fall off that much. I mean, it'll be a slow fall into the upper 50s by midnight tonight. And then tomorrow we warm right back up again, even higher than where we were today. Mostly sunny skies all day long with a high of 80 degrees. Improving conditions for the weekend. I can't wait to tell you about it in just a few minutes.
All right, thank you, Kim. Crossings at the southern border are expected to surge starting tomorrow as the U.S. lifts a COVID-era policy blocking asylum seekers. Right now, U.S. officials are urging migrants in Texas to turn themselves into immigration authorities. In El Paso, federal agents are approaching migrants and handing out flyers about a legal path to citizenship. The Biden administration is planning to release migrants into the U.S. without court dates or the ability to track them. Okay, so we're getting to hear the first reaction from E. Jean Carroll after her win against former President Donald Trump in court. She accused the former president of raping her in a New York City department store back in the 1990s. A jury in her civil suit found Trump was liable for sexually abusing and defaming her, but not rape. The jury awarded her $5 million.
This is not about the money. This is about getting my name back. And that's what we accomplished. Robbie had to tell me later how much the damages were.
Oh, I promise you that we will collect those damages against the former president.
Trump's attorneys say they plan to appeal the ruling. The former president is expected to take questions in a CNN town hall tonight. Now to that life-saving mammogram shift. A U.S. task force recommending lowering the age of a first screening from 50 to 40 years old. Now that group estimates nearly 20% more women will be able to survive breast cancer because of early detection. Paula Tutman took a close look at the numbers, and a very specific demographic stands out. She joins us now live from Henry Ford in Detroit to explain more. Paula, tell us about it.
Yeah. Hi, Karen. Hi, everybody. Yeah, you know what? Lowering that screening age was so critical, particularly for women who look like me. Now, there's a lot of research being done right here because there's a reason Black women are more likely to get breast cancer and more likely to die from it if we do. And researchers are frantically looking for those answers, but they need more African-American women to jump in and help because of ultimately where we originally came from. The key is clinical trials, and here's the thing, you don't need to be sick to participate because data needs to be collected from Black women in particular to narrow down the specific reason ethnicity is a factor in breast cancer.
And it's very important that we as Black people participate in trials where we can look at the genetics.
Dr. Evelyn Giaggi and Dr. Eleanor Walker of Henry Ford Health have been leading one of the charges in researching the connection between why Black women of African descent, in particular, are 40% more likely to develop breast cancer, and if they do, die at a higher rate. A particular concern, the triple-negative breast cancer.
The participation widens the amount of genetic information we have that allows us to look at risk factors.
But there's fascinating information scientists are trying to narrow down about why American Black women are more predisposed to getting breast cancers in the first place. And the answer could have something to do with the slave trade. Women in West Africa, in countries like Ghana, have the highest rate of breast cancer. Why? One way these physician researchers could get more answers is if more black women, in particular, sign up for clinical trials. And while many may think clinical trials are just to test medications, if you get a disease, nothing could be further from the truth, because they need to follow healthy women as well to get a better understanding of genetics, environment, and disease progression, or even lack of progression.
Africa is where life started. So the diversity of genetics in Africa is really, really high.
And so the genetic material of the black American female, whose lineage may be from West Africa, may carry information that was useful to ward off malaria or some other diseases in that region, but on the North American continent could possibly have morphed into something else that triggers breast cancer. More research with black women could help narrow down the cause, the effect, and a better ability to cure anyone with breast cancer.
These are some of the things we're looking at and trying to figure out a way of how we can help improve outcomes and earlier diagnosis.
You know, so much of that interview and that information was just a wow to me, Karen. So how do women get involved in clinical trials, any clinical trials? Well, your primary healthcare provider can be your first stop. Just let them know that you're interested in volunteering, but also websites. Take a look, find out who's doing any kind of clinical trial, and then get involved. Karen?
All right, we appreciate it. Thank you, Paula.